Folklore by Taylor Swift. It is 16 songs long, an hour and 3 minutes long. This is, just...
it's a surprise drop. Because Lover came out last year.
Yeah.
And she was supposed to do this whole big Loverfest tour thing this summer, actually. She was supposed to open up the new stadium in LA.
SoFi?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, whatever. One of the too many football teams that Los Angeles has.
Oh, that's actually for the soccer team. The footy team, yeah. Because it's next to this Science Center. She was supposed to open it up with Loverfest. That was supposed to happen. But then since that didn't happen, she already was already working on this album, and then she just randomly released it. Didn't say anything. She was like, here it is.
She was sort of saying that this is like her quarantine album. Because a lot of artists have done this. We reviewed Charlie XCX's. And of course we have different, most of these have actually been pretty good that we've come across.
Yes.
These quarantine albums or projects.
Charlie XCX's was pretty damn good.
Yeah, and we come to these going okay, this could be some half-finished garbage.
Exactly, or it could be really good.
Yeah.
And for the ones we've had so far, pretty good. And for Taylor's album, it's definitely a... pushing her sound a little bit further than she started out as a country artist for her first 2 or 3 albums, then started to become to more of this pop icon and stuff, really into that genre. And Lover was kind of a mix between pop, some elements of alternative coming in there, little hints and bits, but not too much, still into your genuine pop. And then Folklore is really slowed down. It's not upbeat really at all, and it's stripped down into more of that indie alternative scene, which I don't have a problem with because that's basically my favorite genre. That along with house are my 2 favorite genres. And it's interesting to see her take a step back and go more into actual meaningful lyrical development in a lot of her songs.
Yeah, you're right about that. This musicality of things, which sort of takes this indie, almost like a moon-shaped pool, and it's eerie, sort of
actually,
because the drums are very muted. There's a little bit of guitar, but it's usually just for a flourish and not the entire song, which you wouldn't expect from Taylor Swift.
Because in Mirror Ball, the guitar actually reminded me a little bit of present tense guitar work, because it's really not the live version, but the album version of present tense. Because it's really hidden in the background, but it has this beautiful overlay, and I'm like, fuck, the production's actually really, really good. I'm surprised at it.
I think the production's good at this at times. If we're at the beginning...
Oh, no, that's saying, I was gonna say, my gripes with the album are it comes at the bottom, because I think the first, let's say half to about August or so, or maybe This Is Me Trying is a decent song. That first chunk is actually pretty good. There's a lot of good sounds in it. You have the one which starts off, and that's okay, you can tell it's slowed down, it's a bit different. You have Cardigan, which I think might be the best song on the album, either Cardigan or Mirror Ball. Those are my 2 favorites on it. Is a really good, that sounds like a Taylor song, a Taylor Swift song, but stripped down a little bit. Because you can hear it has that pop elements that want to come out, but it never comes out and doesn't do anything cliche, which is surprising. And the lyrics are good.
Yeah, the most cliche is it's tried and true territory for Taylor Swift.
Yeah, naturally. Her voice, she does the same vocal effects in it and everything too.
Yeah, I mean it's Taylor's style, but even... Like I said, the instrumentation allows a little bit more time, I think, for Taylor Swift's lyrics to be, not that they weren't reflective before, but I think reflective and allowing it to go in different directions.
She definitely opened up more, too, about herself in general, because she talked about, her and her mans in, I think, My Tears Ricochet and in Mirror Ball, and then you have This Is Me Trying, talking about her own mental struggles and stuff, which is interesting to see. The only one I didn't like at the beginning was the last great American Dynasty, because it's actually interesting because it's about her she has a place in Rhode Island, I guess. She has a mansion or something. She rich white people. But it's about the family that lived there before.
Yeah.
So, and it just, I didn't like the production of that song. It was kind of cliche. Also, fuck billionaires.
It felt like the closest thing Taylor Swift was trying to be to...
her oldish sound.
No, the closest thing to being political. Because it's you're talking about class in the sense that this is basically, I bought a fail son's mansion.
Yes.
Is kind of the song.
Yeah.
But at the end of the song, Taylor's sort of owning the fact that, yeah, I have the mansion now. And it doesn't seem to be I'm waiting for the hint of irony to come in there, and it's not really there.
Yeah.
It's you're making fun of American decadence, and you're celebrating it by taking it over and having it for yourself.
And you don't
perpetuating American decadence. It's that's where
the self-realization isn't there for that song, so I didn't like that. Luckily, right after that is Exile with Bon Iver, which is, I saw that when I saw the track listing of the album when it was announced to be dropped. I'm like, Bon Iver is on this track? That's interesting. Because Bon Iver is very experimental indie. Like, I like some of his work, and other work, it's like, it's very, very out there. Not for everybody. But with this track, he definitely had a lot to say in it because it sounds like a Bon Iver song with Taylor Swift on it, which is interesting, but it worked in the album. Because normally, like if Bon Iver song, if this song was in Lover or something else before, it would be just like, it wouldn't work at all. But for a slow down album, it's actually quite good. I like the piano in it. It's a felt muted acoustic piano, and it's a solid song. So
yeah, right. Sorry, I was thinking about the song 7 also.
7, which comes after Mirrorball. Yeah,
Yes,
because
yeah.
Mirrorball is a great, like, that one's a straight indie track, and then 7 that comes after, it's also quite good.
Yeah.
Which, again, I'm surprised that first half of the album going up to This Is Me Trying goes into like her kind of mental health struggles and stuff, other things where like anxieties and different things that play on her, which she's never really opened up to about
She's done
before,
it in
like a little
ways,
bit,
but
like
always adjacent to men.
Yeah,
adjacent to
exactly.
her experience with love and relationships,
Yeah.
which these are, but there's so much more
But
there.
this one is like saying, hey, this is me trying to say, like, this is me trying to be upfront about her, trying to be like a bigger person or something, which I go, wow, okay, it's actually not like her other older stuff of, you know, whine, complain, relationships, blah. But this one's like actually looking in oneself. So I'm like, okay, you're moving up. You've now passed Lana Del Rey into the whiny women chart. So I'm going to get yelled at for that, but whatever. And then after that, Illicit Affairs, Invisible String, I didn't like. They felt kind of boring and just flat in that regard. Mad Woman is interesting because it goes into the fact of like, I think this was her whole thing of when people were attacking her online last year and stuff. You can kind of hear that within the song. So like the lyrics of it's great, the production's a little iffy. And then the last couple of songs, Epiphany, Betty, Peace, and Hoax, are all okay, but they just feel flat and kind of a little too chill for me for an album where it started to drag on towards the end, because that first half of the album is actually quite good, and I was genuinely surprised about it. That some of the songs I'm like, I could genuinely listen to this, like, and be fine with it. The second half I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the last half of the album was very much like, we're going back, we're regressing now.
Yeah,
Taylor.
exactly. So I wish this was cut down. Like, if she stopped at maybe Illicit Affairs or something,
Yeah.
this would have been actually like a really fucking good album, and I would have praised her a lot more. I wish those ones may have been like on an EP or something else, or like a different drop, because it dragged down a lot of the good stuff, the good substance in this album down that I didn't need to be. But in saying that, she actually made some damn good music, which is surprising.
Yeah, this is
like fair play.
This is the closest to being able to hear a full Taylor Swift album as I have gotten to.
Yeah, because I listened to like up to about after This Is Me Trying, I listened that straight through. I'm like, this, like, I can get on board. And then it was right after that, I'm like, okay, it started to drag on a little bit.
Yeah,
so
this definitely has the most to offer of any Taylor Swift album.
For sure.
Yeah, God, I'm getting nauseous just thinking about all the other ones I've had to put myself through listening. Don't like it. But this one, pretty good.
Surprisingly. So quarantine albums are coming out, man. They're shit.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Every week on Audioface, we have an arbitrary scale because every other music website has a real scale, but they don't keep true to it, and they're all nonsense, so we'll just tell you it's nonsense. Arbitrary scale this week is schools of thought of anarchism, because someone tweeted to me that they were what was the word? A patriotic anarchist, which straight isn't real, but we'll go into it. This album, I would call this the egoist anarchism.
Egoist anarchism. Okay.
It's sort of like a devotion to the self, but also like an anarchy within that. It's almost like the worst form of anarchy, where it's just like everything for myself, like take no prisoners kind of anarchy.
Yeah, it's Mad
like,
Max.
When people say anarchy, they don't understand that like anarchies can actually be a political structure with like a central body and these things like that.
Yes.
But there is just straight like complete chaos anarchy, and this is complete chaos anarchy.
This is this would be philosophical anarchism. So it's one of those dudes who's pseudo woke about like anarchism and stuff, and it says the free market will fix everything and whatnot. And it's
Maybe
one of
Taylor
those-
Swift is a professor with really frizzy hair who's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Who rails about, you know, Enron and stuff and be like, look how great the stock is.
super great. Love it.
The market will fix itself. We don't need a minimum wage.
The market will correct itself. We don't need to give people stimulus checks while 20 million people are unemployed.
Exactly.